I got chills, they're multiplying, and I'm losing control, 'cause the power you're supplying, it's electrifying. It's electrifying.
You better shape up, 'cause I need a man.
Welcome to Kermode Uncut. Here's a terrifying fact. Grease, the film, is 40 years old. It's set 60 years ago and it came out in 1978, 40 years ago. Now, Grease has gone on to become one of the best loved film musicals of all time. I remember really clearly when it first came out. Firstly, because if you were a teenager when it came out, as I was, you would have seen an awful lot of the film on Top of the Pops, because many of those songs from the film became hit singles and they were all accompanied by videos which were essentially selections from the film. It was one of the first films that I remember being pretty much sold to us through Top of the Pops. I mean, obviously you'd had Saturday Night Fever before, which was sold to us through the soundtrack album, but Top of the Pops had videos that were basically trailers for the film. And I went to see it, and I kind of liked it. I thought it was fine. It came from a stage musical in which, incidentally, Richard Gere had starred on stage. And it got moderately good reviews, and everybody had to go and see it, and everybody had to go and see it 2 or 3 times. And since then, it's become a sing-along classic, a sing-along favourite. Everyone loves Grease. So it's back in cinemas this Thursday for its 40th anniversary celebration, and I'm sure those screenings will sell out. However, here's an interesting thing. Grease was followed some years later by Grease 2, a sequel from 1982, starring Maxwell Caulfield and Michelle Pfeiffer, which was received very, very badly indeed. It was considered to be a cheap knockoff. We didn't have the returning stars of the original. We had a whole new bunch of songs, a whole new sort of story that really didn't capture the public imagination in the same way that Grease had. It was not a film that opened to wild rounds of applause. In fact, it was a film which opened to critical boos and brickbats. Some time ago, Alan Jones, my very good friend, the journalist, came on a show that I do at the BFI to talk about his guilty pleasure, and his guilty pleasure is Grease 2. He insists that Grease 2 is actually a better film than Grease. He loves it, he loves the soundtrack, he loves the performances, he loves the madness of it. And he did a really lovely presentation saying why it was that he loved Grease 2. And afterwards I tweeted, I can't believe that there is any more guilty pleasure than Grease 2, which Alan Jones has just stood up for at the BFI in the South Bank. And suddenly, Twitter started telling me that Alan Jones wasn't alone. I got a flood of tweets from people saying, I love Grease 2. Grease 2 is brilliant. It has better songs, it has better performances, it has a better story. It turns out that all this time that I had imagined that everybody thought Grease 2 was terrible, in fact, the majority of people I heard from think that Grease 2 is not just good, but they think it's great. So, here's my proposition. Okay, 2018, 40th anniversary of Grease, movies back in the cinemas, everyone's expecting that. Here's what we're going to go for. 2022, the 40th anniversary of Grease 2. Let's get that back into cinemas, and then let's see which of them really is the classic.
Big? I think I understand. Good. A real Einstein.